On this Good Friday of the Lord's Passion, let's take our bearings and navigate our faith together, trusting God to guide our hearts along the journey of everyday life. Today, we're looking at some of the most profound, beautiful, and emotionally moving passages in the entire Bible, the readings for Good Friday. If you have ever looked at a crucifix and wondered, why did it have to be this way? You are not alone. In the next few minutes, we're going to look at these ancient texts through a fresh lens. We will explore the historical context, understand the deep theological truths they contain, and most importantly, discover how Christ's passion changes our everyday lives. To really understand Good Friday, we have to look back hundreds of years before Jesus was even born. The prophet Isaiah describes a mysterious servant. This servant wasn't a conqueror in the way people expected. Isaiah describes him as marred beyond human semblance. In ancient times, suffering and illness were often seen as a direct punishment from God for personal sins. Yet, Isaiah flips that idea completely. The text reveals that this servant is innocent. He is pierced for our offenses and crushed for our sins. In theology, we call this substitutionary atonement. But in plain English, it means Jesus stepped into our place. He absorbed the destructive force of human brokenness so we wouldn't have to. In the Old Testament, the high priest was the only one allowed to enter the holiest part of the temple to offer sacrifices to God on behalf of the people. The letter to the Hebrews identifies Jesus as the ultimate high priest. But notice the incredible paradox here. He is not a distant, untouched ruler. The text emphasizes his humanity, noting that he offered prayers with loud cries and tears. He learned obedience through suffering. We don't have a God who is deaf to our pain. We have a God who knows exactly what anxiety, pain, and sorrow feel like. When we read the Passion narrative according to St. John, we must pay close attention to the narrative structure. Unlike the other Gospels, which focus heavily on Christ's physical agony, John's Gospel portrays Jesus as a king who is in complete control of his destiny. Think about the moment the soldiers come to arrest him. When they ask for Jesus, he replies, "I am." That's the divine name of God revealed to Moses. The sheer power behind those words is so strong, the soldiers actually fall to the ground. Even during his trial, Jesus interrogates Pilate as much as Pilate interrogates him. His final words, "It is finished," do not mean "I am defeated" or "it's over." In the original Greek language, that word is tetelestai. It translates to a declaration of completion, a cry of victory. It's what a builder says when a masterpiece is complete, or what a person says when a massive debt has finally been paid in full. Imagine you are a parent. If your child is sick, you would gladly trade places with them if it meant they could be healthy. You would take their fever, their pain, and their fear. You would do this out of pure, unconditional love. This is exactly what is happening on Good Friday, but on a cosmic scale. God looks at humanity, sick with the disease of sin, selfishness, and death. Because God is perfectly just, sin has a consequence. But because God is perfectly loving, He refuses to let us bear that consequence alone. So God becomes a human being in Jesus Christ. On the cross, Jesus acts like a sponge. He absorbs all the hatred, violence, betrayal, and sickness of the world. He takes the ultimate consequence of sin, which is death, upon himself to give us life. When you read the part in John's Gospel where Jesus is crowned with thorns and Pilate says, "Behold the man," it is a powerful irony. Pilate thinks he's showing a defeated criminal, but he's actually presenting the true King of the universe, wearing a crown of suffering because he loves his people that much. We sometimes forget that our faith isn't about God staying far away in the clouds. It's about a God who stepped right into the messy, painful mud of our lives to pull us out. He is a God who cries with us, hurts with us, and ultimately saves us. Theology is only useful if it transforms how we live. Here is how you can apply the message of Good Friday to your life moving forward. First, unite your suffering with Christ's. The next time you experience physical pain, emotional heartbreak, or stress at work, do not just suffer in vain. Pray, Lord, I offer this pain to you. Unite it with your suffering on the cross. Catholics call this offering it up, and it turns your everyday struggles into a powerful spiritual prayer for yourself and others. Second, approach God with confidence, not fear. Because Jesus wept and suffered, as Hebrews tells us, he understands your lowest moments. When you mess up or feel anxious, do not hide from God. Confidently approach him in prayer or in the sacrament of confession, knowing he sympathizes with your weakness. Third, forgive an enemy. Jesus died for us while we were still sinners. Look at your life and identify someone who has hurt you. Take one small step towards forgiving them today, even if it is just a private prayer asking God to bless them. By forgiving, you participate in the healing power of the cross. And finally, venerate the cross. Place a crucifix in a prominent spot in your home. When you walk past it, take 1 second to touch it or bow your head, remembering the immense price paid for your freedom. In summary, the Good Friday readings reveal the ultimate paradox of the Christian faith, that through the horrific suffering and death of the innocent Jesus, the prophesied suffering servant and our great high priest, God secured the eternal salvation of humanity. St. John's Gospel shows us that Christ was not a helpless victim, but a victorious king who willingly laid down his life to absorb the devastating consequences of our sins, declaring, "It is finished," only when our debt was fully paid. Because we have a God who knows our deepest pains and tears, we can practically apply this truth today by confidently uniting our own daily sufferings with his cross, offering our struggles as a prayer for the world, and boldly forgiving those who wrong us, just as he forgave us.